Good evening, everyone. My name is William Shu, and I'll be presenting you the 100 questions from the Mahabharata, retold by R.K. Narayana from the World Literature Glencoe textbook. I'd like to inform to you before I begin the story that I may mispronounce some names, and I sincerely wish that these do not cause harm, so please keep that in mind the entire recording. I'd also like to say there are some words that may seem slightly inappropriate in the story, and I will please say to hold your laughter in, because I know how these words may be seen, seem, but they aren't what they really are. The Pandavas were in a hopeful mood when they came back to their original starting point, Dwaitavana, after their prolonged pilgrimage. Dwaitavana was rich in fruits and roots, and the Pandavas lived on sparse diets, performing austerities and practicing rigid vows. They managed to live, on the whole, a tranquil life, until one day a Brahmin arrived in a state of great agitation. He had lost a churning staff and 2 faggots of a special kind, with which he produced a fire needed for his religious activities. All his hours were normally spent in the performance of rites, but that day he wailed. A deer of extraordinary size, with its antlers spread out like branches of a tree, dashed in unexpectedly, lowered its head, and stuck the staff in the faggots in its horn, turned around, and vanished before I could understand what was happening. I want your help to recover those articles of prayer, for without them I will not be able to perform my daily rites. You can see its hoof marks on the ground and follow them. As a Kshatriya, Yudhishthira felt his duty to help the Brahmin, and so with his brothers he set out to chase the deer. They followed his hoof marks and eventually spotted it after a long chase, but when they shot the arrows, when the deer sprang away, tempted them to follow with it, and suddenly vanished without a trace. They were by this time drawn far into the forest, and, feeling fatigued and thirsty, sat under a tree to rest. Yudhishthira told his brothers, Nakula, climb this tree and look for a sign of water nearby. Now, I will briefly cut in through the story and give you some survivor instincts and advice. You can only survive 3 days without water, so it's best to find water as soon as possible if you're lost. I've learned this from thousands of situations in the Saharan Desert, as well as the Arctic tundra. These are the worst environments you can ever be on if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere in the world. Now back to the story, page 567, 3rd paragraph. Presently, Nakula cried from the top of a tree, and I see some green patches and also hear the cries of cranes. It must be a water source. He came down and proceeded towards a clear crystal-like pond, sapphire-like and reflecting the sky. He fell down on his knees and splashed the water on his face. As he did this, a loud voice, which seemed to come from a crane standing in the water, cried, "Stop. This pond is mine. Don't touch it unless you answer my questions. After answering, drink or take away as much water as you like." Nakula's thirst was so searing that he could not wait. He bent down and, cupping his palms, raised the water to his lips. Immediately he collapsed and lay, to all purposes, dead.
Ha! Guy!
After a while, Yudhishthira sent his brother, Sadeva, to see what was delaying Nakula's return. He too rushed forward eagerly at the side of the blue pond, heard the warning, tasted the water, and fell dead. Right now, can we please take a moment of silence for the death of Nakula and Sadeva?
You may now continue.
Arjuna followed, and on hearing the voice, he lifted his bow, shot an arrow in the direction of the voice, and approached the water's edge. The voice said, "Don't be foolhardy. Answer me first before you touch the water." Arjuna, surveying the shock and the sadness, the bodies of his younger brothers, replied, "When you are silenced with my arrows, you will cease to question." Driven to desperation with thirst and rage at the spectacle of his dead brothers, he sent a rain of arrows in all directions. As the voice continued to warn, "Don't touch," he stooped and looked down to the water and took the water to his lips, and he fell dead. Next, Next came Bhima. He saw his brothers lying dead and swung his mace and cried back when he heard the voice. "O evil power, whoever you may be, I will put an end to you presently. But let me get first and get rid of this deadly thirst." Turning a deaf ear to the warning, he took the water in the cup of his palm and with the first sip fell dead, the mace rolling at his side. Yudhishthira himself presently arrived and passing through the forest where no human being had set foot before, except his brothers. He was struck by the beauty of the surroundings. Enormous woods, resonant with the cry of birds, the occasional grunt of a bear, or the light tread of a deer on dry leaves. Then he came upon the magnificent lake, looking as if he had made by heavenly hands. There on its bank he saw his brothers. He wept and lamented loudly. Both the poignancy and the mystery of it tormented him. He saw Arjuna's bow and Bhima's mace lying on the ground and reflected, whereas there promised to split the Duryodhana's thigh. What was the meaning of the god's statement at Arjuna's verse that no one can vanquish him? How was he to explain this calumny to Kunti? A little later he said to himself, "This is no ordinary death. I see no marks of injury on any of them. What is behind it all? Could it be that Duryodhana had pursued them and had his agents at work? He observed the dead faces. They bore no discoloration or sign of decay. He realized that his brothers could not have been killed by mortals and concluded that there must be some higher power responsible. Resolving not to act hastily, he considered all the possibilities and stepped into the lake to perform the rites for the dead. And the voice now said, "Don't act rationally. Answer my questions first, and then drink and take away as much water as you like. If you disregard me, you will be the fifth corpse here. I am responsible for the deaths of all your brothers, and this lake is mine. Whoever ignores my voice will die. Take care."
Excuse me?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a quiz over this?
No, Robert, we don't.
Okay.
Yudhishthira said humbly, "What god are you to have vanquished these invincible brothers of mine, gifted and endowed with inordinate strength and courage? Your feat is great, and I bow to you in homage. But please explain who you are and why you have slain these innocent slakers of thirst. I do not understand your purpose. My mind is agitated and curious. Please tell me who you are." At this request, he saw an immense figure materializing behind the lake, towering over the surroundings. "I am a Yashka. These brothers of yours, though warned, tried to force their way in and have paid for it with their lives. If you wish to live, don't drink this water before you answer my questions." Yudhishthira said humbly and answered humbly, "O Yashka, I will not covet what is yours. I will not touch this water without your sanction, in spite of my thirst. I will answer your questions as well as I can." The Yashka said, "What makes the sun rise? What causes him to set?" Yudhishthira answered, "The creator Brahma causes the sun to rise, and his dharma causes the sun to set." Yudhishthira had to stand a grueling test. He had no time to even consider what to say. As the questions came into a continuous stream, Yudhishthira was afraid to delay an answer or plead ignorance. Some of the questions sounded fatuous, some of them profound, some obscure, but packed with the layers of significance. Yudhishthira was constantly afraid that he might upset the Yashka and provoke him to commit further damage, although one part of his mind reflected, what worse fate can befall us? Without giving him time to think, the questions came, sometimes 4 at a time in one breath. The range was unlimited, and they jumped from one topic to another. What is the importance of a sahu? What is important for those who seek prosperity? Before Yudhishthira could complete his sentence with rain, he also had to be answering the next question with offspring. The Yashka went on to ask, what is weightier than the earth? Mother. Higher than the heavens? Father. Faster than the wind? Mind. What sleeps with the eyes open? Fish. What remains immobile after being born? Egg. Who is the friend of exile? The companion on the way. Who is the friend of one about to die? And the charity done in one's lifetime? Who is that friend you can count as a God-given? A wife. What is one's highest duty? To refrain from injury. Pussy. To another state.
Robert!
So I'm gonna ask you to leave the room if you cannot answer the maturity of the story.
No. Who? Go get some of that.
To another series of questions on renunciation, Yudhishthira gave the answers. Pride, if renounced, makes one agreeable. Anger, if renounced, brings no regret. Desire, if renounced, will make one rich. Avarice, if renounced, brings one's happiness. True tranquility is of the heart. Mercy may be defined as wishing happiness to all creatures. Ignorance is not knowing one's duty. Wickedness consists in speaking ills of all others. Who is a true Brahmin? By birth or study or contact. Not by birth, but by knowledge in scripture and right conduct. A Brahmin was born to the caste, even if he has mastered the Vedas, must be viewed as of the lowest caste if his heart is impure. There were 100 or more questions in all. Yudhishthira felt faint from thirst, grief and suspense. Could only whisper his replies. Finally, the Yashka asked, answer 4 more questions, and you may find your brothers, or at least one of them, revived, who is really happy. One who has scanty means, but is free from debt, he is truly happy. What is the greatest wonder? Day after night, and hour after hour, people die and corpses are carried along. Yet the onlookers never realize that they will also too die one day. They think they will live forever. This is the greatest wonders of the world. What is the path? The path is the one great ones have trod. When one looks for it, one will not find it, and by study of scriptures or arguments, which are contradictory and conflicting. At the end of these answers, the Yashka said, from among those brothers of yours, you may choose one to revive. If I have only one choice, let my younger brother Nakula rise. The Yashka said, he is after all your stepbrother. I have thought you've won Ajruma or Bhima, who must be dear to you. Yes, they are, but have had 2 mothers. If only 2 in our family are to survive, let both the mothers have one of their sons alive. Let Nakula also live, in fairness to the memory of my other mother, Marjorie. The Yashka said, you have indeed pleased me with your humility and the judiciousness of your answers. Now let all your brothers rise and join you. The Yashka therefore revived all his brothers and conferred on Yudhishthira the following boon. Wherever you go, and henceforth with your brothers and wife, you will have the blessing of being unrecognized. The Yashka was none other than Yama, the god of justice, and father of Yudhishthira, who had come to test Yudhishthira's strength of mind and also to bless him with the power to remain incognito. A special boon in the view of conditions laid down for the last year of exile.
Ha! Gay!
Now as I end the story, I'd like to tell you all
Shut up.
to go the fuck to sleep.
I still don't know.